your request, thanks.
There you go.
After Kevin Lynch, President of the club, and welcome to May 16th meeting. And please sign up your phones. Doing an indication is Louis Seeger, commercial lender at Park National Bank, club director, chair of the Emerging Leaders Committee, and vice chair of the Membership Development Engagement Committee of Paul Harris Fellow. Thanks. Yeah.
Let us pray. Thank you, Father, for the gifts of Rotary and each other. Bless this food as we nourish our bodies and our minds. May we be ever mindful of those in need. Help us to provide food to the hungry, to heal the wounds patient with our love, comfort those in sorrow, bring peace to those living in areas of unrest. Through our service to all, we thank you for all of our gifts. Amen. Amen.
Thanks, Louis. Now, leading the pledge and four-way test, Cindy Cottle, VP and CPA at Harding Szymanski and Company, chair of the Finance Committee of Paul Harris Fellow.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now please join me in the four-way test for all the things we think, do, and say. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Sneak in there, Ken. Ken had a meeting in Frankfurt, so thanks for coming back. Actually, Lexington. Rotarians, time for guests, and please introduce yourself first, then the name and title of the organization of your guest. And guests, after the meeting, if you have a little what is Rotary discussion with Craig Sherman. Where's Craig? Wherever it's after lunch and a guest, just go to that table over there.
President Kevin, Susan Zepeda. My guest today is Joey Yates. He's the curatorial director of the Kentucky Museum of Art and Craft, where art is the big idea.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. Kevin Fields, the club director and chair of DEI committee. I'm honored today to introduce my special guest. She's in the back. I'd like for her to stand up. Her name is Portia Shoulders. Portia is the founder and CEO of PL6 Porta Potty Rental Company. And as of this past Monday, she's also a graduate of our Business Intelligence Center's Woodforge Foundry Project, a 12-week curriculum about entrepreneurship. She's doing great work. She's landed a contract on the West Louisville Norton Hospital and is supplying anybody's needs around porta potties. So check her out.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. Alyssa Gray, President and CEO of the Kentucky Humane Society, and I'd like to introduce Amber Holleran. I think several of you know her. She's gotten a lot of hellos. She's a very amazing animal lover and friend, and a CFO in Louisville.
Welcome, Justin. Craig just walked in, so he's got to be talking over there right after this. And by the way, Craig, I think it's 4 days from now, is going to be 50-year anniversary with this club. So. And he does a lot for our club, but he's also involved with a lot of other charitable activities with other organizations. An amazing person. We have quite a few Rotarians to spotlight this week. Julie James will be honored by the Kentucky Historical Society with the 2024 Kentucky History Award at a breakfast event on June 1st. It's in Frankfurt. It's for her work on the Notable Louisville Neighborhood Series at the Filson Historical Society. Mark Cull was recently featured on WDRB TV for taking care of a 4-year-old Nuri from Burkina Faso in Africa, of course, while he received desperately needed surgery here in the U.S. to repair a hole in his heart he was born with and other conditions. The Culls won a $25,000 Community Service Award from Northwestern Mutual. and donated the money back to Healing the Children. That was very nice of them to do. An organization that works to help underserved children around the world get the medical care they need. Jeff Underhill and Scott Collins were recognized at the Business First Family Business Awards presented by the U of L College of Business. Jeff and Underhill Associates in the Small Business of the Year category for excellence in strategic planning, employee and leadership development, community involvement, and an inclusive, healthy culture. And Scott, who was president of FAMS PBC, Public Benefit Corporation, founder of Canopy, was presented the Positive Leadership Award for exceptional courage, compassion, honesty, humility, generosity, resilience, curiosity, and another virtue in the workplace. Quite a few criteria there, but he's quite good. And congratulations to Devon Holt. He received an honorary doctorate degree from Simmons College of Kentucky. Here he is. Kim Halbauer, regional president of Fifth Third Bank, will speak at the June 5th IC Pearls of Wisdom event at the Calumet Club in New Albany. Whitney Austin, co-founder of Whitney Strong, will speak at the June 7th Daughters of Greatness Breakfast at the Muhammad Ali Center. And our club was very much in the spotlight the past weekend. 6710 conference at the Marriott East. Read more in Sparks about that. It'll be out hot off the press later this afternoon. And also, the Environmental Committee, headed by Alex Novak, is looking for volunteers to help with the Ohio River cleanup. That's this coming Saturday, and it's going to be from noon to about 1 o'clock. Sorry, not this Saturday, June 1st. So that event is June 1st to clean up the Ohio, help us clean up some of the trash from 9 a.m. till noon. Contact Alex Novak if you're interested in doing that. Craig Sherman will once again host our annual summer social at his beautiful home, and he's the main gardener there, by the way, which is a pretty big job. On Sunday, June 9th, from 4 to 7 p.m. It's always one of the most popular and fun events, so please plan to join us. And I guess what goes on there doesn't stay there. Our Social Activity Committee is also planning a group trip to Tuscany, Italy in November. I'd like to invite to the podium Kent Euler to share information about the upcoming trip. Thanks, Kent. Appreciate all the doing.
Thank you, President Kevin. Who likes Italian food?
Hey.
Who likes Italian architecture?
Hey.
Who speaks Italian? Yeah, not so much. So this is one of those situations where you come up with an idea and somebody says, oh, yeah, do it. So the social committee is sponsoring a trip to Tuscany, Italy, November 1st through the 9th. It is a almost all-inclusive trip, including air from Louisville. So you can travel to Tuscany in a group, get there, have tours to Florence and Pisa and all the places in northwestern Italy. If you haven't been there, it is absolutely a stunning part of the world, and the food is good over there. The price is just $3,900 per person, all inclusive, including the air, all the hotels, the tours, most of the meals, and you can read all about that. On your table, you'll find a little flyer there. Tuscany flyer. You can pick it up if you have interest in the tour. We did a survey, and I know we have interest to get. We'd like to get 10 couples to go to kind of prove this out, and then maybe next year we'll go someplace else. But if you did have enough interest, hopefully we can get you 20 people and make this whole thing happen. But the details are in the brochure, and if you have interest, or even a soft interest, if you would let me know, just email me, and my information's on the front here, and we'll make sure getting it on the list. We are thinking of opening up also to regional Rotary, so we could be, hopefully we can sell it out. It would be a great thing to do. So that's the scoop. They also offer cancel for any reason insurance for about $375. So your whole risk, even if you sign up, might be $375. I understand things, plans change. So thank you, and I hope to see you in Italy.
We've got a pro there, by the way. Weren't you involved with some of these at U of L?
Chamber, yeah.
Chamber, okay. I'd like to welcome to the podium incoming President-elect, Ken Savaggi, General Manager of ESPN Louisville, to recognize some new Paul Harris Fellow achievers.
Thank President Kevin. Paul Harris Fellow recognition is given in appreciation to any Rotarian who contributes $1,000 or more to the annual fund or Polio Plus fund of the Rotary Foundation. So everyone that's been in here that's been a Paul, or is a Paul Harris Fellow who's got a pen, please stand. As a Paul Harris Fellow, you are promoting peace, fighting disease, providing clean water, saving mothers and children, supporting education, and growing local economies. You are also providing funds for matching district grants that support projects in our community and other communities in Louisville. In appreciation for the many ways in which you exemplify Rotary's motto of service above self, and on behalf of the trustees of the Rotary Foundation, it's my honor and pleasure today to recognize new Paul Harris Fellow, Harry Lewis Seeger V. Paul Bickle, Paul Harris Fellow plus 5. Carl Thomas, Paul Harris Fellow plus 5. And Robert Chatham, Paul Harris Fellow plus 6.
If I could get all 4 of you real quick to the front. Sorry, I didn't tell you to stand. It wasn't pictured with all 4 of you.
That includes you, Ken.
All right, scoot on down a little bit. Scoot on down, please. All right. Thank you.
That's really a lot of what Rotary is about, is helping other people. That helps big time, ability to do that. I'd like to invite to the podium Larry Sloan. He's on his way already. Owner of Larry's Home Sales Company. Chair of the Lifetime Committee, the District 6710 Club Visioning Committee. Co-chair of the Year honoree, and major donor to provide an update on a refugee family service project.
Thank you very much, President Kevin. I have a certificate of appreciation for the club I want to present to President Kevin for the family that we supported that was sponsored by KRM. KRM is our Kentucky Refugee Ministries, is our partner in this effort to help refugees who come to Louisville get started. And there is like a 3-month period of time that we are with them to help them get around, maybe go to medical appointments and so forth, and help them learn English. And we had several volunteers in the club who helped with all that. Plus, a lot of volunteers donated furniture for the apartment, silverware, kitchenware, and so forth. And so we appreciate that. It's a great thing to do. It's a service project that if you haven't done it, think about it, because it really is very meaningful. We had a very joyful and cheerful final meeting with the family, and it's a real experience, I can tell you. So I'm going to present this to Kevin, President Kevin.
Thank you.
And thank you for the support of the club.
Thank you.
By the way, this was a joint sponsorship from the Lifeline Committee and also the International Service Committee. So it was a double win.
Yeah, those 2 committees did a good job, but what's really important is, a lot of individuals that help. It's just simple stuff like picking somebody up for a ride or whatever. But let me say, the refugee families really appreciate this. They come into the States, they don't know what they're doing, usually in a tough situation. They come here and they just love to welcome me. Over the course of a few months, we actually developed kind of a friendship. So it's really been very much appreciated in the community. I want to thank them for doing that. Now, the last time I'd like to invite to the podium Henry Hauser, Chairman of Unistar LLC Lifetime Service Award recipient, Word of the Year honoree, Paul Harris Fellow, and one of the best town presidents we've ever had. Introduce today's speaker.
Well, I'm introducing someone who really doesn't need much of an introduction, because I think most people in this room know Lindy, but I'm delighted to be part of this program because I've been a fan and a friend for many years in the many hats that Lindy Casebier has worn over the years. And it's really special to have him here today because at the beginning of the AGA tournament, and as you know, he is one of his overseas sites is tourism, and he and the head of global tourism have a chalet at the PGA tournament and welcoming wonderful guests who can make major investments in the state. So thanks for being with us today, because I know you're very busy with all these other things going on too. Lindy Casebier is a Louisville native. He graduated from University of Louisville with a bachelor's and a master's degree, and was honored in 2003 with a wonderful award as Alumni Fellow, a big honor. Being an accomplished musician, he's an accomplished pianist and trumpet player. He began his career at JCPS and was the band manager at Valley High School. And from then, there he worked 4 years in administration at JCPS. But foremost, Lindy, I think, is best known for his long leadership in the Kentucky General Assembly, representing Louisville, and having spent 6 years in the House of Representatives and 12 years in the Senate, where he chaired the Senate Education Committee. In February 2023, last year, Governor Andy Beshear appointed him Secretary of Tourism, Arts, and Heritage Cabinet, and I asked him this morning, well, what does that all entail? He said, well, wait for my presentation. And of course, he was a natural for this appointment after serving 2 previous governors in senior roles within the cabinet. I got to know him best, though, as Executive Director of the Louisville Visual Art Association, which many of you know does such an outstanding job of furnishing art classes to young students, and also for being a major support system for our incredible art, active artists. So when he's not traveling throughout the state, Lindy serves on the boards of AmeriCorps, the Louisville Waterfront Development Corporation, and United Way of Kentucky. So, one hand. So with the recent end of the Kentucky legislature, I think it'd be very interesting if he would give us some insights, like or what it's like being on the other side of the fence when he's now negotiating for funds and support from his legislature to support his cabinet. So I hope you'll have lots of questions for Lindy, but I'm really looking forward to learning about what all goes on in our state. So please join me in welcoming Lindy Casebier.
Well, can you all hear me? It's really good to be here. I was a member of Rotary during my time at Local Visual Art, and enjoyed being here every, what was it, Thursday. Yeah. You know, Henry said I travel a lot around the state, and I do. We were in Newport yesterday for the 25th anniversary of the aquarium up there. So, you know, it's like the years just roll by, and it seems like just yesterday, because I was in the legislature when the Newport Aquarium got funded. But I have a guest today, Carol Lee Allen, who is a former member of this club. So I'm glad to got the UML's marching band together in music school. So we won't say how many years ago that was, but it was quite a while ago. But with the PGA just coming off our 150th Derby, we have a lot to be excited about with tourism. And Henry, when I talked to him this morning, he said, well, tell me, I said, I can't, it takes too long, I can't tell you now, I can tell you again when I get to the Rotary meeting. But people come to Kentucky for horses and bourbon, primarily, but they discover there's so much more. We have just an abundance of riches in the state, and I'm so glad to be able to be here and share. Many of you are quite aware of what those are, but I'm just glad to be here to reiterate that again today. So our cabinet, the Tourism Arts and Heritage Cabinet, serves as the top tourism agency and collaborates with local tourism partners to coordinate tourism, arts, and heritage efforts through legislation, tourism development, and marketing and outreach. The mission is to support the promotion and development of Kentucky tourism, arts, and heritage as a mechanism to foster economic growth and employment for communities throughout the Commonwealth. So within our cabinet are agencies that we always refer to it, and others refer to it as well as the fun cabinet, because it is, but it also contains everything that's so great about Kentucky. We have a budget that we just finished the legislative session, and the budget we ended up with this time around is a $355 million budget out of a $50 billion state overall budget. In our cabinet, there's over almost 2,000 employees in all the agencies combined. You can see the agencies up there, but I just want to touch a few. They're all very important, but I just want to share some that are local and some that you might know about or may not know about. Governor's School for the Arts, which is, Henry said I was with the cabinet before. I was with the Tourism, Arts, and Heritage Cabinet from 05 to 15, and GSA became just one of my pet projects, and fell in love with the program and the directors over the years and what it does for Kentucky. It was founded in 1987 by Governor Martha Lane Collins. It's one of my pet projects because I've always felt like it's underfunded and remains so still. But over 8,000 young artists in Kentucky have had the opportunity to go through the Governor's School for the Arts in programs in the it's a 3-week intensive program. And so during that 3-week period, they are exposed, there are students in the genres of visual art, vocal and instrumental music, dance, drama, creative writing, and musical theater. Some notable alums: Kevin Alusla, who was from Davis County, who ended up in Pentatonics. Colton Ryan, who ended up on Broadway and was nominated for a Tony a couple of years ago. Chase Phillips, class of 22, who this year was just named one of 20 Presidential Scholars in the Arts. One of 20. And the 4th GS alum to receive such a recognition. Another notable alum is Kim Thomas Baker, who is now the president of the Kentucky Performing Arts, Kentucky Center for the Arts. And I've known Kim since 2005 when I was with the cabinet before, and have seen her ascension to the presidency. But to think that Kim Thomas Baker auditioned on the same stage that she's now the president of the center. So that just gives me goosebumps, and that just tells you that you can do anything that you aspire to do. And she has led the Kentucky Center since 2014 with grace and charm and an ever-present smile, and with just Kentucky Center's in such great hands. I just have a secret love affair with Kim. Well, maybe I should.
We won't tell them.
But
I won't tell it.
But Kentucky Performing Arts contributes $26 million to our state's economy. $26 million. And the direct impact of over $15 million. And the Broadway series alone has had over a $485 million impact at the Kentucky Center during the center's 40-year history, which was just celebrated last year. At the Kentucky Heritage Council, people say, what does the Heritage Council do? Well, anything that is a building that needs to be preserved or a historic site, the Historic Council, the Heritage Council is involved in that. One of the cornerstone projects of the Heritage Council are the historic tax credits. And they have proven to be one of the most successful and cost-effective community revitalization tools. They create jobs, they leverage private investment, they enhance property values, returning underutilized property to the tax rolls. This program has been instrumental in preserving the historic places that give our cities, towns, and our communities special character. Since its inception in 1976, more than 47,000 projects have been completed through the Federal Historic Rehab Tax Credit Program, leveraging over $116 billion in private investment in the rehab of historic properties of every style, period, size, and type. And the historic tax credits often can be utilized in tandem with the Kentucky Historic Preservation Tax Credit, a key provision that strengthens the effectiveness of both programs. In 2023 alone, the Heritage Council approved 198 projects encompassing 89 residential properties, 109 commercial properties, and these represented an investment of nearly $600.7 million. Another one is the Artisan Center in Berea, which represents, if you've never been there, if you're ever on 75, you need to stop. It represents over 800 Kentucky artists at the Artisan Center in Berea, and they generate over 1.5 million each year in revenue for Kentucky's artists. The Kentucky Arts Council, another burr in my saddle, because the Arts Council is very underfunded from the investment from the legislature. And when I get done with this, maybe if you have friends in the legislature, you can advocate for an increase for the Kentucky Arts Council the next time around. Our legislative appropriation for the Arts Council is 0.40 cents per capita. We're 45th in the nation in spending for the arts. In fiscal year 23, our legislative appropriation was $1.7 million, placing our budget lower than it was in 1987. Now, the governor appropriated money for the Arts Council, but the legislature didn't fund it to that level. So Henry asked, how do I feel as a former legislator now being in the executive branch? When I first went to the executive branch in 2005, I said that everybody in the legislature should have to serve in the legislative branch should have to serve in the executive branch before going to the legislative branch. Because really, we were not educated on what the executive branch does and what often the executive branch is charged with through legislation that is passed. The practical impact is not realized. The reality is just not there of what that's going to mean to these agencies. And having worked with them now for 13 years, it's a chore on our part, and it's a challenge. It's not a chore; it's a challenge to be able to educate the legislators on the importance of what these agencies do, in particular the Arts Council. And it's not completely the legislature's fault, because in 2020 we had a lot of turnover, so there's a whole lot of new members in the legislative body that have not yet fully been educated and understand the work that the Arts Council and all these other agencies and the work of all the cabinets throughout state government do. But the Arts Council is so important because entities that you probably support and care about that are Kentucky Arts Partners get funding from the Arts Council. Just think if there was a serious investment in the Arts Council, how much more of those entities that you care about, Kentucky Center for the Arts, KMAC, if you name an arts organization, they are probably underfunded. But arts audiences spend $1.18 billion each year. Arts audiences spend that in Kentucky. One of the programs of the Arts Council that they are able to pull off with a staff of 7. During my time at the cabinet before, the Arts Council staff was 22. So they've been, in around 2016, their staff was slashed drastically. So they have 9 on their staff. But yet they pull off the Kentucky Craft at the Market, which is at the horse park every year in March. And they generated, through sales of Kentucky artists, they generated sales of over $1 million in Kentucky revenue. One of those artists is right back there, Susan Grant, who I might have forgotten to push my slides. No, I might. She's in a slide later that I'm pointing. But Susan Grant was an art teacher forever, and she's an artist, and she's in the Kentucky Crafted program. So she can attest to the value of what the Arts Council does. But, the arts, I'm very fortunate that starting in band when I was in 4th grade, I've been immersed in the arts my entire life, so I'm a little biased on this, but I truly believe in it. I tell people that I'm not just another bureaucrat. I know how this works, and I know that it does work, and the importance of what it means to lives and communities, and the arts are transformative, and we can't continue to just fail to invest in something that has such a critical role in Kentucky's lives and our economy. The Kentucky Horse Park. If you've not been there, it's so beautiful. They were a great host when we had Kentucky Crafted there. They are going great guns. They just, through October of this year, they showed a net income of over $1 million and an increase of 374% from last year. The total generated revenue was over $6.3 billion through the same time frame, a 17% increase. And significant areas where the horse park has increased is 76% in special events, 79% in equine fees, 29% in food service, where rentals come in 143% in non-equine special events, and the visitor center and gift shop 18%. So very proud of what the horse park is doing, and it's such a jewel for Kentucky. So this gives you a picture of our state parks. This is a lot to celebrate this year. It's Kentucky State Parks' 100th anniversary. Our state parks have been in existence for 100 years. They started with 4 sites. They were started as economic drivers for local communities. They put people to work. A lot of CCC buildings in our state parks. They put people to work building the structures, and then they put people to work there in the park. A lot of our park folks have started maybe in the dining room or in hotel services, and they've ended up as the park managers. There's one example of that I think of right now is the park manager of Pine Mountain, but there are others. So we have a total of 44 state parks, 17 lodges. You can see it there. I don't want to read it all to you, but significant over 1 million square feet of event space and 58 wildlife management areas. If you haven't been to a state park lately, please go, because it's a great year to go during our anniversary. I will be the first to admit that many of my friends who visit state parks are the first to tell me that they need TLC. Well, we know that. Just in 22 and in this budget cycle, parks did get funding Honestly, it's never enough, but we're very grateful for the funding. And there was funding for the 22 budget. We didn't get, it was put in the budget, but it wasn't allocated for us to use. So some of the projects that were online in 22, because money wasn't released to us, one project in particular went from 7 million to 10 million. So if we'd gotten the money in 22, we could have had a head start on some of this. But the legislature, the governor proposed and the legislature did put more money in the budget this year for parks. And we're trying to really enhance the experience. One of the reasons that Carol is here today, Carol E., is that we're trying to get more arts in the parks, because when people come there, you know, when I started getting to go around to the lodges, first thing I said was, we should have Kentucky music playing in the lodge when they walk in. Still hadn't happened, but we're working on that. But, you know, with all the Kentucky artists, that ought to be the first thing, you know, and very first thing at a gift shop, I picked up a mug and it said "Made in China." It's like, oh no, we can't do this. We need, you know, it's not really cost effective to have all artisan products in there, because the price points have got to meet the demand of the visitors. But we're working, Carol's just in charge of that effort, trying to get more arts in the parks, in our gift shops, experiences in the parks. So we're very excited about that, because the audiences that we have in our state parks are very receptive to that. And the audiences that we're hoping to cultivate for our state parks will be more receptive to that as well. The economic impact of our tourism industry, and it's fitting that we're about to begin Kentucky, or the National Travel and Tourism Week, celebrating tourism across the country. But it's a multi-billion-dollar industry that brings millions of visitors into Kentucky each year. It's one of our state's largest economic impactors, and it serves as a mechanism for driving economic growth in all 120 counties. We continue to see growth in the tourism and arts industry post-COVID, and it really would not have been possible for us to be in a strong position if not for the leadership of our governor. And I know I'm biased because he's my boss, but I tell you, the investments and the strategies that they used during COVID, it really put us ahead of the game. And during the pandemic, the governor invested more than $13 billion in the tourism industry to strengthen promotional and advertising efforts by encouraging safe travel throughout Kentucky. One result of that is that camping, people kind of fell back in love with camping, and our campgrounds are full in our state parks, something that had not been the case prior to COVID. Our arts and culture industry, again, the importance of the Kentucky Arts Council, generate approximately $6.1 billion in total economic activity annually and support over 47,000 jobs throughout Kentucky. The artists are job creators. The arts is a clean industry. The arts are impactful in every way, and it's not a frill. It is a basic economic engine driver for the country, for Kentucky and for the country. We also have something that people like, one of our products, and that's the bourbon industry. And that's over a $9 billion economic powerhouse and growing. You know, I can't keep up with it. You know, it seems like there's a new distillery opening every day, and generates today, because tomorrow the numbers will change, but over 23,000 jobs. And in 2023, bourbon was responsible for creating over 2.5 million visitors experiences in Kentucky. So, you know, again, bourbon and horses gets them in the door, but it gets them in the state. But when they get here, they see just how much more there is to offer. Our outdoor and wildlife recreation industry continues to thrive. That is a $5.9 billion industry. Offers a wide range of activities. You can hike, you can bike, fish, climb rocks, kayak, and engage in so many other activities. And so many of those are on our state park grounds or in close proximity. I can't go anywhere where somebody doesn't say something about they've been to Natural Bridge, they've been to Gorge, they've been to Pine Mountain. It's just go and see. If you haven't lately, just go experience it. Our previously an allotment of $5.3 million in funding was distributed to our 103 tourism and destination marketing organizations in 88 counties to promote travel, tourism, and recreation across Kentucky. And that included over $670,000 allotted directly to Kentucky's 9 tourism regions that support marketing efforts. I'm amazed and my hat's off to these tourism directors in these local communities. And you talk about organized and a well-oiled machine. These local tourism directors and their associations and their organizations are just, they're so proud of their product, which is going to lead me to something in a second. But it's, they are out there on the front line every day, and we're so pleased to work in tandem with them and support their efforts. Just in July of 2022, again, coming out of COVID, but the governor announced $75 million in federal funding to further strengthen the tourism industry's promotional and advertising efforts. So much of that was to keep us just on a level playing field and not just fall through the cracks because of COVID. We appreciate past investments, but we are always working with the legislature to try to inform them of the need for investments. And we were pleased and grateful for the bipartisan support we received this past session. Governor signed legislation increasing funding for the Tourism and Convention Marketing Fund and provided our cabinet with $20 million for fiscal year 25 and $24 million in 26. And that money goes right back out to Kentucky to enhance tourism experiences and our organizations throughout the state that provide these tourism experiences. So it's money, that marketing, the Convention and Marketing Fund, that's like the 1%, that's the bed tax that you might have heard that people, when tourists come in and they stay in a hotel, they pay that. So you generate that money and it goes back out for reinvestment. Our cabinet and our agencies use this revenue to market and promote tourism across the state, and it funds the marketing incentive program and sports event sponsorship programming. The Tourism Meeting and Convention Fund, as you can see, is crucial to the tourism in Kentucky, and if not for that reinvestment, if not for that fund, we would be in dire straits as far as the promotion and incentives to get people into the Commonwealth. There's post-pandemic, tourism numbers have been on the rise, and we are working hard with the industry to generate more funds. The General Assembly also this session allocated some funding to different entities that you're probably quite familiar with. I know some of you are in this room, Susan, but one of our agencies that the Kentucky Center for African American Heritage, if you've never been in that building, it's an old trolley barn that came online through efforts from Representative Ann Northup, Jill, when she was in Congress, got the money for the renovation of the trolley barn down there. But the Kentucky Center for African American Heritage is just a shining star in West Louisville. So many activities are there. When I was at LBA, we always had our honors luncheon there. It's a great venue. The Mountain Regional Recreation, again, back to outdoor recreation activities. The National Quilt Museum, which really spurred the development of Paducah. And if you have not been to Paducah in a while or ever, you need to go, because I'm telling you what Paducah is, it's one of the best kept secrets in Kentucky. And I wasn't able to go this year. The last year I got to go to Quilt Week. Population of Paducah is about 35,000. During Quilt Week, which is like the 3rd week of April, population of Paducah doubles. You can't find a room or a parking place or a place to eat hardly. But it's great. I mean, you talk about works of art. The quilts are just amazing. Another funding initiative was for Southern Kentucky Tourism. The County Tourist Commission, they've got a new project coming online in June, celebrating the Everly Brothers, John Prine. You know, again, two Kentucky names that has put Kentucky on the map through the years. The International Bluegrass Museum in Owensboro. If you've not been there, it's amazing. You need to see that. Our trail towns, folks that love to hike, they come in and see that. There's a new Raven Rock Resort that's just going to fund into this legislative process. The tourism development area has seen the benefits of our industry growth through the Development Incentive Program, which is administered by our cabinet. After a banner year of tourism in 2022, the governor announced that we broke an all-time record in 2023 with 9 new tourism development projects that are set to generate an estimated $292 million in economic investment. $292 in economic investment million. One of those projects is going to be a new Margaritaville hotel complex in northern Kentucky. We were up there in September to make that announcement, and then just back in the very same place yesterday for the Newport Aquarium celebration. But once these projects come online, they're going to generate over 550 jobs when operational. We've preliminarily approved 7 tourism development projects in 2023 with the Margaritaville Hotel, which is on the Newport on the levee, and that one alone is going to generate 282 new jobs and 187 full-time jobs and 95 part-time jobs for Campbell County. They're on fire in northern Kentucky up there. Our occupancy rates, the demand for hotels is directly associated with tourists seeking, obviously, overnight stays. And to have a booming hotel industry, our tourism industry must thrive. That's the connection between all these local tourism visitor centers and the work that they do. Because whether it's in Muhlenberg County or in Martin County, when they come in, they need a place to stay. And these investments have positively, in a very positive way, impacted our hotel industry. Our tourism industry continues to recover from the pandemic, and we're seeing a steady rise in occupancy rates, and it sure helps when we have the 150th Derby and the PGA. As I said, it's the 100th anniversary of our Kentucky State Parks. The legislature in 1924 commissioned a man named Dr. Willard Gilson to spearhead the founding Department of Parks, and I doubt that he could hardly imagine what it would have become 100 years later. But I'm sure glad they commissioned him and that he had a vision for that. On July 1st, on the old Capitol grounds, we're going to have a celebration of the 100th anniversary of our parks. We've kicked off this year with some celebration events. Silas House, our poet laureate, generously offered to do writing workshops. He did one at Cumberland Falls in January and Dale Hollow just in April. And he's even offered to do one more in November. And April 24th was Writers' Day. There was all living Kentucky poets laureate were there. And Frank X. Walker and Crystal Wilkinson. I talked to them after the event, shameless, and I'm not afraid to ask. And I asked them if they would do one. So they're going to do a workshop together at General Butler at the first weekend in December. And I'm sure, you know, we started this off to celebrate the parks, but also to try to, at a time when maybe the lodges had some good occupancy available. So April was questionable because of spring break, but we were able to get into Dale Hollow and we're there with some spring break folks. But November and December will be really great, and we appreciate them helping out the state parks in that way. I talked about what the legislature has and the governor have put in to support our state parks and to help the renovation efforts. And I'm not going to go through the list, but that gives you just a snapshot of where some of those investments are going. Sorely needed. Unfortunately, some of these investments are in things you can't see. So you're gonna go to a visit the state park, and people say, well, he said that they were renovating these parks. Well, they're spending a lot of money on HVAC and things like that that you can't see. But we're also trying to upgrade the rooms and bring them into the 20th century, 21st century. But I mean, people go to the state parks understanding that it's not going to be, you know, the St. Regis, but it's our parks have character, and the dining rooms are great. Tom Brown, who's over the food service for our state parks, is an amazing individual, and just the dedication and the love of the parks of our employees, just, it makes me so proud of them and what they do. Our Parks Commissioner, Russ Meyer, does an amazing job, and I'm just so proud to be associated with them. One of the things that brings in tourism to these local communities is their Main Street programs, which is another anniversary year. They're celebrating their 45th anniversary. All things that began as a program, and we see how when somebody has an idea, and because from the national level they adopted it and they started it in Kentucky and did the work in order to get the Main Street program in place in Kentucky through our Heritage Council. But the strides that have been made to modernize tourism and build long-term economic success are solely because of the success of our Main Street programs. You see the numbers up there. It's a 45th anniversary. You know, I always say people don't go to a community because they have a nice Walmart. You know, they go for the charm and the distinction of their main streets. And unfortunately, in the 90s, when some of these bypasses went through, they really decimated our main streets. And our main streets have been scratching and clawing to come back ever since. And they are. And again, talking about the visitors folks that run the visitors and convention bureaus in these small towns, the Main Street directors are also some of the most dedicated folks that you could ever meet. And the love of their community and what they're doing is just phenomenal. And these communities, with the investment that you see up there on the screen, they, because of the Main Street programs, they finished the year with a total of 649 new jobs throughout the Commonwealth. And they reported 30 new business expansions, 223 rehab projects, 214 facade and exterior renovation projects, and 190 public improvement projects. So all of those enhance the visitor experience and enhances the overall tourism impact. So there's Susan on the far right. We're there with Kentucky Crafted. That's Susan and our Lieutenant Governor, Jacqueline Coleman, and me, and Susan, I don't remember, sorry, your friend's name. But so in the center, well, on the other side is another Susan, Susan Zepeda. We happen to be at Minnie Atkins' 90th birthday celebration in Moorhead. But I want you to focus on the middle slide. That was on Arts Day, and I want you to focus on it because there's a license plate on it. We now in Kentucky have a new arts license plate. So if you've ever sung in a choir or in the shower, or if you've enjoyed going to the Speed Museum, or if you just like art or think it's nice, and you would like to show your support for the arts, you can go to your county clerk's office when you leave here today. You don't have to wait till your birthday. You can go and get an arts license plate. And because I'm not seeing enough of them, they've been online since January. And we have to get 500 this year in order for it to stay current. We came up with a plate, and there's a new process in place. And about the same time we were coming up with a plate, Kentuckians for the Arts, a nonprofit organization, came online, which worked out just great because if you get plates, you have to have a nonprofit organization. So Kentuckians for the Arts supports and advocates for artists across the Commonwealth. So when you buy an arts plate, that money goes to Kentuckians for the Arts, and they then disperse that back to arts organizations throughout Kentucky. So very proud of that plate because, you know, I noted when doing some research, unofficial research, but a lot of black plates out there. A lot of people have black cars, and they like black plates on there. I mean, I've even seen people with friend of coal plates who will cover up the friend of coal part, just have nothing there. But, you know, you can have a black plate, and you can support the arts in the process. So, and a lot of people with black Mercedes and BMWs have noticed a lot of friend of coal plates on there in Louisville. And I think they just want, I don't think there's that many coal supporters in Louisville. I think they just want a black license. So that comes up in conversation at your next dinner party. Be sure to share that with the folks. But that gives you a little sketch of what our cabinet is and the group of folks that I'm so proud to be associated with on a daily basis. So if you have any questions,
There's some Q&A coming up here.
Thank you so much for being here today. My name is John Bush, and I'm the father. My older daughter is an arts. She was an arts child. She's now an arts adult. But she got a lot of her training over here at YPass as a vocal major. But she got to go to GSA during her tenure there, and it was an amazing experience. So I just want to thank you personally and thank the Assembly for continuing to support GSA. I know it's always, but it was an experience she has never forgotten, and she still works in the arts today. She went to Belmont University in Nashville as a music theater kid, and then she decided to change, but she, for the last 10 years, has worked as a professional makeup artist in the entertainment industry in Nashville, and it all began here and got enhanced with GSA, so thank you very much.
Earlier, I was just in Newport yesterday at the aquarium. Ken's, the director of the aquarium, is a GSA.
That's awesome.
And I was like, I gave her my card, and I said, we need to get you on the alumni, you know, plus because we need her to donate.
Hi, Chris Burek. I initially wanted just to know if we were going to get the PGA Championship in 2035 too, because that's the next date up for grabs. But a more day-to-day question is, you talk about the bourbon industry, and I've read some stories and heard some podcasts about how much growth is happening there, and that in the next 15 to 20 years, you know, Louisville and the surrounding counties might be something like a Napa, where you come and you stay for a week and you just get bussed around to different distilleries, which is what it would be here. So what can your cabinet, what is, can, and will your cabinet be doing to help that industry grow and Kentuckians see that success?
You know, it's through the Tourism Development Act, you know, like when they apply for incentives for new distilleries to be built, they can go through that process, they can take advantage of that. But it's basically those programs that I mentioned. Anybody coming in to get a new distillery online, or they you know, because so many of those bourbon endeavors that they start with an idea, and then they start with blueprints, and then they come in and make their presentation. So they're going to come through us and Captain Fern and I development as well.
Thank you so much. That was a fascinating program. I have a question about reverse tourism. And I see that in what's happening with the Louisville Orchestra, where Senator Stivers, the leader of the Kentucky Senate, supported this idea that the orchestra should go out into the state and play for various groups of people to get them used to the idea of, and he called it urban and rural meeting of the minds. And I thought that was really interesting. Do you have other programs like that, or is that under your purview?
Well, the orchestra funding came through a line item funding, but we've always advocated for programs like that. I mean, one of the things we're doing is the arts and parks, and it's a wonderful thing that the orchestra is going to be able to tour. I got to go see them. They were in Western Hills High School in Frankfurt as part of that tour. But I'm really glad that the legislature has discovered the Louisville Orchestra and that they understand how important they are to Louisville and Kentucky. But we also have 5 regional orchestras throughout Kentucky. And they are doing some of the good work, and they also go on tour. If we strengthen the Kentucky Arts Council, then the Arts Council would have more money to support some of these local orchestras and smaller organizations throughout the state. Because I'm thrilled that we're funding the orchestra, but there was an appropriation request for the ballet, for other organizations. Many, we had a budget surplus this time that we'll never have again. And we could have really made a dent in support for arts organizations across the state. And unfortunately, they didn't do that. And sadly, defunded GSA. The governor put money in there, and they took it out. So, I don't want to cry too loudly, but it's to the gentleman that told me about his daughter being in the program. If you've ever had anybody that's been in GSA, or if anything I've said today has resonated with you, please mention it to your legislators. I mean, the fact that we've got a presidential scholar that's a GSA alum, I mean, here's the thing that I think is so disconcerting. Over 1,800 young artists, 1,800 applied for GSA. Because we got some grant funding from COVID funds, the Department of Education was able to put a second campus in. So it doubled the class from 250 to 500. That's going to sunset. So 1,800, 500, and the governor put in money to continue that funding for the 500, and it was taken out. So we're going to go back, unless other money is found somewhere, that we're going to go back to 250 students. 1,800 to 250. That's not a very good funding ratio, and it's really not serving kids throughout the state. And I have never run into a GSA alum that did not say it was not a transformative, life-changing experience. The same thing with our Governor's Scholars Program and the Governor's School for Entrepreneurs. It's investing in our future Kentuckians. Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox. You can tell that's a sore spot.
Sheldon Tellis-Man's a jewel. We're lucky to have him. I'm first met him down at the Louisville Visual Art Association, and my question, well, also this GSA program, my son was John Austin Clark went through this, and it was transformative for him. If you know John Austin, you would understand that. But my question is conventions. I just this came across my email this morning. The American for the Arts, their 2025 convention is going to be held in Cincinnati. And it seems to me that our friends in Northern Kentucky are probably going to really enjoy it. But in Louisville or in the state, could be down election anywhere, but having some sort of a national convention around the arts would bring a lot of attention to Kentucky, much like we're doing with our sports events. But it could be a great festival, and it'd be we could showcase our folks. And I just thought I'd maybe suggest that you might want to address that a little bit.
Well, John, thanks for bringing, I did not know that. I just saw Jay Dick with Americans for the Arts back in April, but he didn't mention that. But it may not have been known yet, but I'm glad that, you know, Americans for the Arts is an amazing organization, and they've had issues with, like everybody else, with COVID, and that they used to have this big national conference, and then when COVID hit, so so I guess this will be the first one post-COVID. So that's exciting. I didn't know that, and I'll reach out to him because he's been at the Kentucky Center, and he's their, I don't remember what his title is, but he's government relations and outreach, and so I'm sure. But you know, the National Conference for State Legislatures is coming to Louisville this summer, and they reached out to me and they want me to find trumpet players to play Call to the Post as folks come to, you know, so, you know, having been in U of L's band, I know that we can find plenty of trumpet players that can do that. But you know, that's another feather in Louisville's cap to get the National Conference of State Legislatures to come here. Because again, when they come to Louisville and they take these bourbon tours, and they don't just stay here, they go around, or if they are only able to go to Louisville, they see so much that they like, well, if they come to Louisville, then they're going to come back and see more of Kentucky. So it's very, we're very proud and happy to cater to that audience. I guess.
Did a great job for Louisville, the LGA, and that's done a great job for the state, including Louisville, of course. Good for us, so keep that up, I really appreciate that. Next week's meeting will be featuring Lieutenant Colonel Whitney Allen, another commissioner of Kentucky, in this case, Department of Justice Affairs. Please are asking for money to do as usual. And yes, you can keep it correct over there. The meeting's next